Hello, it's Zoe and Jamie again. Unbelievably, he's still interested in the grapes. So we're just going to keep going until that stops. Sorry about the wobbly picture. He's kicking the bottom of the table now, aren't you, puppets? Okay, so want to build out something that I just think is worth knowing in and of itself. We said before, what's the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web? And we said that the World Wide Web is a subset of the internet. It's the bit that has stuff that you can see on a browser. That's what the World Wide Web is, because they are, after all, web browsers. So I wanted to flesh that out a bit by saying what actually happens on the trip between your computer and the website that you want to look at. And I think that's going to work better if we turn it that way, isn't it? So, on our end, when we want to go to a website, we start by typing in a URL, right? Now, URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. It's an identifier which tells us where something lives. So now let's just say we want to go to rad.com. Don't visit that. I don't know what's there. It might be something really horrible. I've got no idea. Probably should have checked before I started recording. Okay, so we start by typing that in. Now, what happens next? Well, what happens next, you would think, right, that the computer just kind of talks to rad.com, and it does. It does talk to rad.com, but it can't get there by itself. Right, it's got to go through a step first. So if we've got, here's us on our computer at the top, and we type in rad.com, and we need to communicate with the servers at rad.com. But here's the thing, rad.com is actually more of a shorthand. The computer doesn't really care what rad.com is. What the computer cares about is rad.com's IP address, which is a little bit like a phone number. So the way this works is, in the middle, there is this huge... I've lost my black pen. How incredibly annoying. In the middle, there is this huge, great server called a domain name server, and that's a lot like a phone book. It is. It's basically a big phone book. So, our request, we type rad.com into our browser, and that message goes puttering off down the phone line, or the ADSL line, out into the world, and it goes tootling off, and eventually it shows up at the domain name server. And our computer is saying, "Hi, domain name server, look, we're looking for rad.com. Can you find me the address of rad.com, please?" And the domain name server goes, "Yeah, sure, let me just look that up for a second." And it has a bit of a look around. If it can't find it, it asks another domain name server, and it comes back with a number. And the number will look something like 192 point... Basically, it's going to be 4 numbers divided by dots, okay, like that. Having discovered the number, it sends your request down. It goes, "Hey, rad.com, are you there?" And rad.com goes, "Yeah, man, I'm here, I'm online, everything's working fine at my end," or not, in which case sends a message back to our machine going, "Oh, the website's down, can't get to it." So rad.com says, "Yeah, no, you've got the correct phone number. I'm definitely here. Tell your mate that I'm open for visitors." And the message goes bumping all the way back through the domain name server and comes back to your machine. And yep, there, totally fine. This all happens in a tiny little thing called a packet, which has so little information. It's actually smaller even than an SMS message. And you know how SMS messages are only like 140 characters long. Maybe it'll take a couple of packets to get from your computer through to the domain name server, off to rad.com and back again. Maybe it will. But what's important is that we know we've got a starting computer saying, is anyone there? You've got a finished computer going, yep, no, I'm totally here, I'm online. And once they've worked out that they're both they're both online and they're both working together, that is the stage at which rad.com will send a whole lot of information straight from its web server back to your machine, again in little tiny packets, but with lots of instructions to your web browser as to how to put the packets back together again. So it's like it's sending you a whole lot of jigsaw puzzle pieces, but also a map of how to put the jigsaw pieces back together again so that you get the full picture. And that is what you get when you look with your eyes. When you see a website on your computer screen, that's a whole lot of packets that have been sent from rad.com to you with instructions of how they get put back together again at your end, and by the time you see it, it just looks like a perfect, seamless website. Can't happen without that phone book, the domain name server, in the middle. The phone book in the middle is the thing which makes sure that your web browser can talk to their web server. If you remember the video a little while ago, the World Wide Web is made of browsers, servers, HTML, and HTTP, hypertext markup language, and hypertext transfer protocol. That, what we just described, talking to the domain name server, you just dropped that on something dirty, you can't have it back now. Talking to the domain name server, that is the bit where the HTTP goes. The HTTP is the bit that's sending the requirements to that domain name server phone book service. And that is how the web works.